Yeah, we're back. It's the 1936 Pau Grand Prix, the very first episode of 1936 season. Yes. Hello and welcome to Grand Prix 80th anniversary. For real, it is back. Today we're kicking off season 2 with the race at Pau in southwest France. These are a few images from last year's running of the Pau Grand Prix. And this series is a YouTube series where I talk about Grand Prix races which happened exactly 80 years ago, to the day. Because it's the first episode back from fall and winter break, we're going to get straight to the main show. This race will be run in the streets of Pau on a 1.7 mile circuit, which hosted the event last year and in 1933. So, there's the region of France highlighted. That is where we are going to be going to sanction the race today, and that is on the left is the circuit that we're going to be using, this Circuit de Pau, and the race entries, obviously. For this one, there are 13 people on the entry list, and it makes up your typical non-Silver Arrows French race. It's another one of those races where it's Ferrari against independent racers with their own Grand Prix spec cars. So yeah, Ferrari against whoever decided to show up. The only problem is, however, Ferrari are not here today, and that mostly has to do with politics. At the French-Italian border, Ferrari was stopped by the Italian dictator Benito Mussolini. They were given the orders to return to Milan immediately, so they did. I'll explain why shortly, but Benito Mussolini it must have been the Allied powers threatening parts of Italy, which meant that Italians would boycott French events. And so Mussolini just said, "You are trespassing on forbidden territory, needs to return now," and Ferrari just couldn't argue, so it was like, fine, order acknowledged. Just as Ferrari were stopped, the race organizers received a telegram from Giuseppe Firmenich, head of the Italian Automobile Club. It said no Italians could race in France until the League of Nations meet on March 10th. Until the League of Nations met, sorry. So, any people who were affiliated with racing could not cross the Italian-French border up until March 10th. So today it's March 1st. 9 days later, the League of Nations will meet, and then everything's gonna calm down. That means everyone can race now. That means just 10 drivers here today. That includes Jean-Pierre Remil, who represents the Bugatti Works team, bringing out the Type 59 monoplace for its maiden Grand Prix race. So this is a revised version of last year's Type 59, and we hope to see if it's still manufacturer quality, that it can't be outrun by privateer drivers, because he's going against all these privateers out there. Let's do this for Mozart. And preparing to go against him is the new independent driver Philippe Tancelin, using his own personal and customized Maserati V8 Ri. He'll definitely be one of the big guns out there today. So, if you couldn't catch up on the Maserati V8 Ri, it was a very complex project that Maserati took on in 1935, and they brought it forth at the Grand Prix de Le Mans last year, and it proved to be way too complex of a project for them to handle. So, and it broke down a lot, as you might have seen in the previous episodes. But as Felipe Massa, what was I thinking when I said Felipe Massa? I'm completely minus. I apologize. When Felipe Tancelin got kicked off of the Maserati team, in favor of Carlo Fides-Trossi, he took a Maserati V8 Ri with him because he was the one who developed the car and he had way more experience on it than anybody else. So that's his quote there: "Maserati couldn't fix this, but I did. Take that." Yeah. See how well Felipe Tanzlan copes with his own V8RI. This is his own personal one. Maybe he fixed it, maybe he didn't. And this will be a new segment in the Grand Prix episodes, the Alfa Romeo P3 corner. Now that the P3 or Tipo B is retired and it's up for grabs for Indy racers, everyone has them. Here are the featured guys with Tipo Bs out there today. As always, the star of the show is Raymond Sommer, driving his special 1934 Alfa Romeo P3, driving a later model, like with the bigger engines. So Raymond Sommer brings Blue Alpha Power, featuring one of his best friends, Raff, Comte Georges Raff. And he says, yeah, baby, in French. Very well, catchphrase, whatever. Last time Raymond Sommer had brought in a second car to back him up in the Blue Alpha Power range, they came 1-2. Like, last time Blue Alpha Power starred a second car with Raff, they came first and second at the Comminges Grand Prix last season. They defeated the Ferrari team triumphantly. And there's also Charles Martin in this green P3 to represent British Racing Green. The British Alpha Club commences. And there's Jose de Villapadierna, always fancying his usual color, usual fancy coat of yellow. I am a team of one. So, yeah, his official entry was Scuderia Villapadierna, but the thing is, that team really doesn't operate, since last year he had 2 yellow Maseratis, and he always shared one. He always would give one of them to a commercial driver. This time he only has one car, which means he's racing for himself. All these guys are racing for themselves today. But let's see how well Blue Alpha Power does with a second car. And now for the starting grid to this race. So in row 1, it's Jean-Pierre Remil in the Bugatti Type 59, the current edition. He got 1 minute 59 second lap time, got pole position, off to a good start, at least proves its manufacturer quality, hopefully. And Raymond Sommer driving his Alfa Romeo P3. The difference between his P3 and everyone else's P3 is that he has the Works team engine that was used in the Ferrari P3s. He was given a 1934 or 1935 P3 last year, and his engine is bigger than everyone else's because his is a later model. So he did that lap time in 2 minutes dead, and he's like, I still got a chance here. And he still does have a chance. And in row 2, Charles Martin, also in the Alfa Romeo P3, but he has the production engine, 2.9 liters, a whole 0.3 liters smaller than Raymond Sommer's. That means he's 3 seconds slower, 2 minutes 3 seconds. But that's still competitive, so Charles Martin is one to look out for. Let's win it for the new club. And Felipe Tanzlan, one of those guys we should all be looking out for today. In his own personal Maserati V8 RI. 7 seconds slower than Remil, 2 minutes 6 seconds. And Tanzlan is happy to call that competitive. In row 3, Marcel Lehu driving his Bugatti Type 51. Semi-competitive. I don't know if you can call that competitive. 2 minutes 10 seconds, 11 seconds off of Remil. Now, he's driving a Type 51 today. He's not driving the ERA. This doesn't count towards his contract for ERA that he signed earlier on last month. Well, if it isn't Mr. Selfish, that's his quote there, and Jose de Villapadierna, in the other Alfa Romeo P3, who is slower than Lehu's Bugatti Type 51. Hey, I'll show you, my businessman. He should have said my former businessman, because Marcel Lehu doesn't belong to Villapadierna anymore. And in row 4, we have Robert Brunet in his independent-owned Maserati HCM. Same time as Villepariño, 2 minutes 11 seconds. And Georges Raff made a terrible mistake in qualifying, which caused him to be 16 seconds off of his teammate, or of his best friend, because they aren't actually teammates, but he's got some catch-up work to do. And in the final row, Jean Delorme in a Bugatti Type 51. And the rest of the times are unknown. And we also have, hooray for female pride, Nice. I got an apology. I owe you guys an apology. In episode 6, way back in season 1 in June, Grand Prix of Peñarina, I accidentally said Nice was a boy racing driver. It's not true. Nice is a female racing driver. Disregard anything I ever said about her doing that. So she has an Alfa Monza. So let's hope she does well. She's female. The odd one out. And for the first time in Season 2, the command has been given and they're off. And at the first corner, Jean-Pierre Emile builds up a lead, followed by Raymond Sommer, Charles Martin, and Philippe Tancelin. At last, the Bugatti is unstoppable. Well, it seems to be that way because he's the only manufacturer driver out there and he's leading over all the independent guys. But Raymond Sommer is closely following him, and Charles Martin and Philippe Tancelin trail behind. The P3s of Sommer and Martin trailed behind Emile's Bugatti until Philippe Tancelin streamed by them, chasing down the Bugatti Works driver. So the V8RI has never actually had any potential to be very successful, never actually showed any potential. It's always broken down, but maybe with this race, Philippe Tancelin could change all that. He's already overtaken a couple P3s. He was like, yes, this really does have potential to be good. But no matter how hard he tried, Tancelin and his privately owned V8RI couldn't keep up with the Works team-owned Bugatti Type 59 of Jean-Pierre Emile. Oh man, he's getting away! So that's him there. Yeah, Jean-Pierre Emile. Jean-Pierre Emile is in a class of his own because, like, it's been a long time since Bugatti have actually been this competitive, but relatively over independent guys, the Bugatti is very fast. The Type 59 is manufacturer quality. We have established that because it has managed to run away from all the privateers. So after 25 laps, we don't have the margins between the drivers or anything. I apologize for that, but Jean-Pierre Emile holds the lead, a very big lead, and Philippe and some of the top privateers out there, Philippe Tancelin and Raymond Sommer in third. Marcel Lehu doing an impressive job in fourth place with his Type 51. And Jose de Villepariño, maybe his P3 wasn't as well put together as the other P3s, because he's in 6th right now, very far behind Charles Martin. And those are the strong 5 there, with Jean Delorme being pretty far behind. He's in 7th there. Emile headed towards certain victory until the Bugatti he drove bummed out as a result of failed brakes. This gave Sommer and Tancelin a chance to really make things exciting. At least it's manufacturer quality. Alright, I said Grand Prix quality, I meant manufacturer quality. So, now that Emile is out of the race, it's now going to be a free-for-all fight for who is the best privateer out there, because the person who wins this is going to be the proclaimed best privateer out there. For the next 15 laps, it was the 2 biggest Indy racers in Europe trading off between 1st and 2nd. This race would determine who's better. You can't catch me. So that's what Philippe Tancelin is back there. He's breaking away with a lead in this shot, and Raymond Sommer is catching up. He says, "Oh, but I will catch up." And Sommer eventually did. He chased down the Maserati and retook the lead at half distance. So Raymond Sommer and Philippe Tancelin, a very close fight for the lead, and before actually overtaking Tancelin at the end. See what I mean? See what I mean? That's what Sommer said. And Tancelin just gets completely passed. Sorry about that. Anyway, and in the background there is Charles Martin. He's not involved in the fight for first, but he is still right behind them. He's literally watching everything. He's like, you guys put on a good show. And so, after 50 laps at the half distance, Raymond Sommer hold the lead. Philippe Étincelant just 1 second behind. See if he's going to catch up, or see if he's going to pass him back. And Charles Martin only 5 seconds behind. He's having a lot of entertainment coming through him. 5 seconds, just 5 seconds behind. He could see everything. Marcel Lehu, like the pace that Étincelant and Sommer have been driving at is enough to lap Marcel Lehu. So now he's 1 lap down, and that's 2 laps ahead of José de Villapadierna's Alfa Romeo P3. I don't know, he's Spanish or something. He might not be the best, his car might not be best put together out of all the, probably isn't actually. Jean Delorme, but it's nowhere near as bad as Jean Delorme. I think he's already DNF'd. He's already retired from the race, I think, because he's 11 laps behind. I think he would probably stop by now. That means it's Raymond Sommer edging out Étincelant until you know who breaks down at 3/4 distance. That's right, it's Mr. Sommer. At Parc Beaumont, his rear axle has broken, and that means his car is done for today, which means Étincelant takes the lead. Philippe Étincelant has taken the lead. The Maserati V8RI actually has it. No! This is not right! So that's what Raymond Sommer thinks, and so his brakes failed, and that means that his rear axle break, which means he almost falls into a ditch as is portrayed in here, but it's just a rear axle. And that means that Philippe Étincelant can cruise on to victory, hopefully. If the V8RI doesn't break down, because it's bound to break down at some point soon. It's been 75 laps, and the most unreliable car in Grand Prix racing has kept close to the lead at all times. But at 90% distance, the V8RI shows its flaws. Étincelant had pushed this car to the limit the whole time, so the engine became very hot. So now the engine is now starting to smoke a little, because Philippe Étincelant has been going past its limits, so and if it's been going past its limits, you can tell what it is. He's been building up a lead over Charles Martin for the past 15 laps. And now Philippe Étincelant's just thinking, I can feel it. I better slow down. I can feel it. He can feel the heat. The heat. Étincelant is not out of the race, but he has to drive carefully in order to keep his car satisfied. That means Charles Martin can close the gap that Étincelant built up when Sommer retired. The question is, though, will Martin close it in time? I'm gonna win for the new club. So Martin is probably the only one who hasn't actually experienced a problem yet. Étincelant is still in the race, but because of the nature of his car, it shows its flaws some point or another in the race. He's got to be very careful, so it means he might end up losing. Charles Martin hasn't had a problem yet, so there's a possibility Charles Martin might win this. But he's got 10 laps to close that gap, see if he can. Étincelant was in sight at the final straight. Martin came very close, but not close enough. At the end, Philippe Étincelant emerges victorious once again, while at last proving the V8RI was not a waste of time. So, they crossed the finish line, and Philippe Étincelant is just so ecstatic for his success. Oops, sorry. Philippe Étincelant so ecstatic for what he has proved to the Maserati Works team. on his own. He did this on his own. So I don't know how long he held out that E, but that E and yes, but he definitely held it out for a while. Charles Martin was very close behind, like literally following him. Dang it, he came so close. Well, you know, what can you say? With this victory, Philippe Tancelan, all on his own, could achieve what the Maserati Works team could not. To prove their complex project successful with a win. Alright, I'm sorry about that. He achieved what the Maserati Works team could not. To prove their complex project was successful with a win. This victory has also given him £2,500. That's enough to keep his car healthy. Alright. Now, Philippe Tancelan's probably thinking, take that, Maserati! Haha, this is what I could prove with this car that you couldn't. And that the €2,500 should cover his eligible entries for the next month. That's pretty awesome, actually. Anyway, yeah. Coming behind him is Charles Martin, who is off to a healthy start with his new racing club, which fancies Alfa Romeos, with earning €1,500 for second place. Next time, I'll return even readier than I was today. He will be readier, because he's got more money. And nowadays, it's all about money, but no. Back in the days, if you were a privateer, if you were a privateer, it was about money. Not really. And now the official results. And now the official results for today's race. Philippe Tancelan really took a well-earned victory for him and his car, proving that their very complex project was not a failure. He did it in 3 hours, 22 minutes, and 26.6 seconds, and I have just illustrated that race in 13 minutes. And behind him is Charles Martin of Alfa Romeo. He really came very close to winning the race, but he just wasn't fast enough for Tancelan's careful driving that gave him the victory at the end. And Marcel Leyu did a very good job in his one-off appearance with the Bugatti, with his own Bugatti Type 51. So, if he's ever going to appear in the Grand Prix stage of motorsport, it's only going to be with independent cars. He signed a contract with ERA, but that means he's going to be in the Voiturette leagues. So he was 1 minute, 21.4 seconds behind. And because Philippe Tancelan had made his engine very hot, he had to drive carefully, and that allowed Marcel Leyu to get back on the lead lap. And Jose de Villapadierna came fourth, managing to drive safely until the end. He stayed within 5 laps behind, so I guess you could say he was among the top notch. That was pretty good. But Philippe Tancelan has proved he's the best privateer around. Anyway, so the DNFs out here. So Raymond Sommer did not finish because he had a rear axle problem at 75% race distance. He almost did it, really came close. But Jean Delorme of Bugatti Type 51 had a valve problem. And Jean-Pierre Emile, representing the Bugatti Works team, encountered faulty brakes earlier on in the race. And Robert Brunet, even earlier on with his Maserati, also encountered the same problem at the same place. And last, of course, Comte Georges Raff. I guess he didn't do too well with his best friend today. He had an engine failure, like, I think less than 10 laps in. And the real heartbreak, unfortunately, last but not least, Elenice, the female driver here today, unfortunately crashed just 5 laps in. It was very unfortunate. She could have been going very long lasting, because if y'all remember back into the time with the Madame Anne-Cécile Rose Madame Rose ETA, the voiturette driver who hardly ever retired from a race, because she had those good qualities about her. Elenice could have followed her qualities, but that unfortunately she didn't. Thanks for watching the first episode of Season 2 of Grand Prix 80th Anniversary. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, click the like button or subscribe button, or leave a comment. And I'll see you in April for the highly anticipated first AIACR European Championship race of the season, the Monaco Grand Prix. We are really going to be excited for this one, but folks, as I said, I hope you enjoyed it. This is Johannes Lacroix signing out.